So I'm live now?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Just wanted to say thanks to Dustbunny and all the goblins here for inviting me to do poetry. I'm not sure why I do it, but I just keep doing it. And I'm happy to read to y'all, whoever's watching. This I wrote last winter. It's a lot about processing gender and texting people. It's called Script. Unpasted, I opened up into incidentally real time. Could be wrapping around onto delete me read at 7:05. Pasted in terraform, anticipation on silent, in excess could be you. Looking at fleshed orbits as digital confusion / genitalia. X'd out, I understood waste as lack of progressive syntax. One bit beats off screen into only periods. I organize windows, some load onto me, rotate obtusely, around the axis of my direct object pronoun, which is me. As phase shifted from the third or fourth person, then sent to an old address. To return is to enter a greasy key pun incidentally. One doesn't form sex knowing it's not conducive to being a first person in the recombinant man-wife trinity. Matrix reloaded nipples contain tube searches inadvertently. LOL entirely could be you. It's not any point in time's fault one's always produced first as a third person, it's just I bend time. Unrehearsed, shifting that back to being at night as scripted entirely. In advance could not be you as the control. Message set to appear into kiss mark metadata, X'd out incidentally shifted off screen. Phasing at night to only periods. Exit one into real time and wraps onto undo is to control here. Delete me is to enter from the direct object transitive verb, only in the backdoor web hosted in another country. Listed as lack of progressive syntax. My hormonal affect could be you in terraform. Redirected, removed, third person, scripted entirely, uploaded onto an old address. Where it used to be. The only real-time waste is knowing the body on screen organized in excess contains tube searches inadvertently scripted as second person. Entering, incidentally, the third person. Neutral pronouns as scripted in excess. Kiss marks disappearing in effect could be metadata entirely. And here's another I wrote around the same time. It's called Tune. I bent the waves with other waves, a recurring event, automated by momentum entirely in different directions. There is no forwards in a disoriented state. Can a fugue state be relatively ordered in a linearity patterned by silence? Stardust and routine pilings as the gates stay open past sleepy decibels only. This is what silence is, retrograde noise or unintelligible notes. Clouded intervals of firings into abrupt periods over and over is music. Frequency is more affected by speed and time than affecting of speed and time. Now is lowering the gate for lower speeds to roll alone into perceptibility, off big mirrors in space. Disturbed particles, away. Waves spent with metaphor, particulate punches in time, is also light. An opening for sound at the right range of frequencies. To listen is not a form of control. A question. Perception refracts beats of light. Slowing down time is only a superpower if fiction changes pitch. Now recurs never, or echoes are not interminable. Somehow shadows still recur. I wonder why. Closing the gate, I bent the mirrors out of range. This I wrote a long time ago. I don't even remember when. How a protection spell works. You don't have to be embarrassed about cautiousness. It makes sense to be cautious often. You need a good ergonomic pillar of rock to sit atop in complete silence in order to absorb and survey the facts as they are, what they communicate, how they move precisely in the moment in question. The rest you scry with dowsing rods, extensions of your arms, making arms extensions of your psychic mind, humming in response to these facts, making chambers of processing out of your joint sockets, your armpit hair infusing with information. Then the rods disappear into the skin of your forearms when you're ready to concede that no action is the best course and remember the finer points of your senses, what they're able to do. In this moment of understanding, you scarcely feel the subtle movements of the new particulate air and its charge. You must be careful not to fall asleep on your perch, unless, of course, to rest was your original aim and why you needed to do your watch in the first place. I said, trust me, but consent is naturally something that can't be asked for. Explain to me why you like brutality, and tell me then if you want me to be brutal. These are at last night. Fetishizing alternate economies of affect, I suppose, is a line of flight. Imagine mixing up the future with an internet past, spitting on each other as a magic ocarina of time. The thing is, the only time I understand the point of the game are the very rare moments where I notice that someone is good and beautiful without having to qualify what that means. Okay, back in time, this is something I wrote, like last year. Is it showers lost in ideas or ideas lost in showers? Imagine one in broken terry cloth, or words less precious than noise slipping over the gutter slop down the drain. Is it that static as many moving little parts all stuffed with electricity waiting to jolt into in violence as possibly a form of care? Like a brutality one's palm sweat conducts enmeshed in another. What if I told you there was a way to repair sleep? It just took time. A jumbled alphanumeric that, or who is, not of use and does not need the lot of you. Tying the string. In reversal, is it that a physical force then pulls you forward to all the new room it takes from you? An asteroid of impressions in sleep stole back its course, the one where certain dreams don't happen. Paying rent for the far side of the room, and by then it's a week, and the floor is populated by all the measures you've been made to learn the mechanics of. This one I wrote when I lived in a different city, and published in this little anthology I was doing with a couple friends, and it was really fun. It was called Square. It's obvious. The synecdoche in pink skin, mowing through throbbing gringo plazas or Walmart 6 p.m. Do you want dirty carbon, seed, or vortex? Elsewhere, some intellect grazes over the deterritorialized dream. Future scatterplot of the wilder west losing a phantom course. Cut to blip of rollicking sunset denouement to faded pastel electro song, or knees weak, palms heavy, mom spaghetti, our commons, the warmest shade of Parmesan. So yeah, I don't really know what this is landing like, or who's watching, or if this is all like too much to take in, so I'm just gonna keep rolling because I've got tons of time and you've got tons of time.
Keep going.
Thanks for tuning in. This one I wrote like a month ago before coronavirus news really hit. So it's somewhat topical, but it isn't really about the current crisis. It's called Don't Make Me. Is it true that of most things it's best to pass over in silence? A coherent sentence needn't always come to form. Maybe we all have friends who are too smart to trust language and never wholly mean what they say. The slipperiness of words suggests the wetness of the medium and its reverberating effects. Any individual has power to signify differently then, and less, at rest, at work, to move all day without talking, nothing to add to a load that's full, nothing to warrant a subtraction from the load. No day for a mediocre public hanging by the neck. Perfectly sovereign in the privacy of speechlessness. Imagine public silence, or silence as an enclosable commons, a natural resource cut away by all genres of construction and design. Breath-mingled air is constantly scored, musical notes as forks and stones, paper as false negative space, the crumpling of which alters space. Landfill compactors, what meets the curve of wrecking balls, heaps of brick that sit in lots for weeks, the weekly peals of older bells, all arrows of speech. All cursors varying in care and subtlety, pitch and amplitude, which puncture sometimes highly pressurized clouds. Like a Wartenberg pinwheel making the whole body a mouth, like a bone folder being used to crease the leaves of a book. Like when I read and wonder, why am I ever moved to speak? Imagine noise as counterfeit music, or the other way around. Diegetic and non-diegetic sound in an abstract Damascus, where hardened teen girls in Aleppo carry semiotic guns, likely never shoot, and can't even describe her name. With restraint, they laugh at the question of whether the explosions frighten them, assuring one that one eventually gets used to anything. Sometimes laughter is as proximal than the deserted reel of mortars, as in snowball fights in uncommon snow. Here I am effectively on mute a world over. Parkside footsteps shock little eddy, displace the air locally, making a pattern in a small pile of sand, lead-hiding dirt, kicked up on a season-creeping crocus rifling through to life. I found out that sand dunes, for instance, in Death Valley, avalanching, have been described as making monotone rumbling booms, singing at loud and persistent baseline frequencies, booms and irregular burps. The burps, unlike the booms, being irregular because of the variance in shape of the particular individual grains. I learned that vibrations change across a collectively liquid mimicking surface, which amplifies the vibrations by an amount that stuns countless visitors. It feels like your whole body starts to vibrate, Rain tells Gizmodo. When you're standing away from the dune, it is really difficult to comprehend that such a small and thin avalanche creates such a loud sound that booms over the desert floor. I exit out the window, and I pick up tonight this time, outside my living room, no sirens. Only the unintelligible speech of others. While the geophysicist back home in Cambridge publishes her article presenting experimental evidence that large mounds of small shapes shape other mounds from very far away, without ever exchanging shapes. And she loves to go and probe the dunes. So this is the last one I got, and the last bit of it has been echoing in my head. Like, I don't know this poem super well. I've read it a couple times, but it marked me when I read it. And I thought about it the other day. Riddle Me by John Ashbery. Rainy days are best. There is some permanence in the angle that things make with the ground, and not taking off after apologies. The speedometers at sundown. Even as they spoke, the sun was beginning to disappear behind a cloud. All right, so it's better to have vague outlines, but wrapped tightly around one's mood of something like vengeful joy. And in the wood, it's all the same too. I think I liked you better when I seldom knew you, but lovers are like hermits or cats. They don't know when to come in, to stop breaking off twigs for dinner. And the little station, I waited for you. And what with all the interest I bear towards plans of yours and the future of stars, it makes me thirsty just to go down on my knees looking in the sawdust for joy. June and the nippers will scarcely look our way, and be bold then. It's then this cloud imagines us and all that our story was ever going to be, and we catch up to ourselves, but they are the selves of others. And with it, all the city starts to live as a place where one can believe in moving, to a particular name and be there, and then it's more action falling back, refreshed into death. We can survive the storms, wearing us like rainbow hats, afraid to retrace steps to the past that was only recently ours, afraid of finding a party there. Oh, in all your life, were you ever teased like this, and it became your mind? Where will some saunter on the bank in mixed plum shade and wary sun, resigned to the installations on the opposite bank, we mix breathless greetings and tears and lately taste the precious supplies. That's all I got.